Joining us now is Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, Democrat of the great state of California. She is a member of the January 6th committee and did much of the heavy lifting today. Congresswoman Lofgren, I know this has probably been an exhausting day for you. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
You bet.
Let me ask you about that clip that we just played of you speaking after the hearing and that evidence that you presented that President Trump may have raised funds on the basis of these false election claims under false pretenses, telling his supporters their funds would go toward election defense efforts when the fund named even in those missives didn't exist. What is the significance of that in terms of the president's culpability?
Well, he conned his voters. I think there are two issues here. One, he ripped people off. And two, he used the fundraising emails as another mode to disseminate the big lie. And I don't know if you noticed at the end of our hearing today, some of the rioters on January 6th reciting elements of the so-called fraud. So it was twofold. It was to raise hundreds of millions of dollars, but also to help disseminate the fraud lie.
Since the hearing this morning, there's been some statements. I can't tell if they're conflicting statements or sort of different angles on the same point from different members of the committee, including Chairman Benny Thompson. He was asked whether the committee would expect to make criminal referrals to the Justice Department in the event that the evidence that you turned up seemed to indicate the commission of a crime. He suggested that that is not the role of the committee, that it's not even something that the committee has authority to do. We've since seen other statements from Vice Chairwoman Liz Cheney and from Elaine Luria, another colleague of yours on the committee, suggesting that criminal referrals are a possibility, depending on what turns up. Can you clarify for us how the committee views that, or are there multiple views among you?
Well, there's really no specific statute or process that outlines a referral. So essentially, it's sending a letter to the Department of Justice that they can either discard or look at. I mean, it doesn't have any legal impact. That doesn't mean that maybe we shouldn't do it anyhow. So the truth is, we haven't had a serious discussion of that yet. And I don't think we'll be in a position to decide that until at least till all these hearings are done. And we'll see the pile of information we have and whether we think it's a good idea to do that or not. But there's no real argument among the committee. We've been so busy focusing on getting the information out that we haven't really had a big discussion about that.
Congresswoman, it's Chris Hayes here. I wanted to just ask a follow-up about some of the fundraising stuff. I was pretty blown away by the raw dollar amount. It was $250 million they were able to raise. Obviously, there's a tremendous amount of internal dissent within Trump world around the big lie and how he went along with it. I'm just curious, in your investigation, did you find similar dissent about this fundraising and about what appears to be an incredibly cynical con on people to extract money from them when there was no actual activity they were fundraising for?
Not a lot, honestly. I've had a lot of questions since the hearing this morning about the fundraising and financial issues. And I'm thinking that although we didn't have time in the hearing this morning to go through all of this stuff that we have, that maybe we should provide a little more information to the public about some of these items, the details of the fundraising and the like. So I'll work with our counsel and, of course, the chairman to see if we can accomplish that.
Congresswoman, this is Joy Reid. You know, I also was very interested in the $250 million and the sort of designations of where that went, including to the Trump Hotel Group.
Right.
Is there more detail about that? Because does that mean spending on campaign events in the hotel group? And I'm wondering if we're going to be able to circle back to some of the ways that Trump might have personally, through his businesses, been enriched by this fund, not just people from the family getting paid.
Yeah, I mean, the reporting requirements are different than from regular campaign accounts, but there is some reporting, and we have some detail. We have invoices, for example, that we've gotten through discovery. So to go back to my prior comment, I'm going to get with the financial team and see if we can shed a little more light on this with the documents and testimony that we've received.
Congresswoman, it's Lawrence O'Donnell. What was your reaction today to the Attorney General saying that he personally is watching all of your hearings and that what he called the January 6th prosecutors are watching the hearings?
Well, I'm interested. I mean, I'm flattered that I think our committee is performing a public service in terms of providing information at the appropriate time. All of the information that we have accumulated will be made available to the public, including the Department of Justice. But, some of this was new, some of it was already known, but I think if you put it together in the story, it tells a story that a lot of people really didn't know about. And I've had that feedback from people who were Trump supporters who didn't feel very happy about what they saw and are rethinking where they've been on this.
Congresswoman, it's Nicole Wallace. We all put together TV shows, and if a live guest cancels and we have to go to a previously taped interview to pull it off with the world watching, none of us could probably, I'll speak for myself, I couldn't do that in 30 minutes. How many hours of taped depositions do you have, and do you have it for all your witnesses?
Well, we have varying amounts. For example, the Attorney General Barr was interviewed for 2.5 hours. Liz Cheney and I sat in and questioned him for the entire time. Stepien was much longer, but when he called this morning and said his wife had gone into labor and he wanted to be with her while she gave birth, I mean, the only decent thing was to say, okay, you're released from the subpoena. And we went to the video of his interview, and it did, we scrambled. But I thought we got the main points across that we had intended to ask him.
Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, member of the January 6th committee, thank you very much for your service on the committee, and thank you for your time tonight to help us understand. We know there's a lot more still to come.
Thank you very much, Rachel.